Hey guys, Bash here with another video blog. It's my face this time, but want to kind of show you guys some of the stuff I'm working on. Just a few projects that I have going on right now. The first one is this guy right here. Now I know it's really hard to kind of determine what it is, but this is actually a mount for the Raspberry Pi 0W that I bought. I want to use it as an Octoprint server, and so I wanted to find a way to mount it directly to the Anet A8, like how the MOSFET is. So actually I took two files that I found on Thingiverse. One of them is the one that I used to mount the MOSFET with, and then another is just a case that is for the Raspberry Pi 0W. Actually, no, it's for the Raspberry Pi Zero. Um, and I modified them so that they merged and basically kind of chopped the top off of the case, and that's what we have here. And this is just kind of a simple snap-in case. So basically the Raspberry Pi is going to just snap in here, and I'll do that in a second, but I kind of want to show you guys this. So this actually replaces the two razors that goes on the back of the motherboard, and this actually will mount at the top of it. Kind of still modifying this. This isn't going to be the final version, just because there's a few things that I found on here that I need to change. One of them is that on this side where the Raspberry Pi other end will sit, it actually has a spot for a webcam for the ribbon cable, and it actually sticks out. So I didn't leave an opening for that, so it wouldn't fit in here when I first tried putting it in here. So I kind of cut this down. That's why it's not perfect. I'm going to go back into the model, and I'm going to basically chop this out so it'll just sit in there. And then on this side here, obviously the memory card will sit, and then on these these three front openings, you have the mini HDMI port, and then you have the USB, and then the power USB. So just remember to read that on there. You don't want to plug the USB into the wrong, or the power into the wrong one. It can end up causing damage. But yeah, I'm gonna go back and change this so that this is cut out, and I might redo this and cut out kind of the middle part right here, so that it doesn't need to print all that. So it kind of reduces time and also reduces the need for more plastic to being used. But this actually came out pretty decent. It only printed in about, I think it was like an hour and 16 minutes when I ran it. But actually, and I'll show you. Look at the Raspberry Pi Zero. So this is it right here, and it's just a really small Raspberry Pi. These things are pretty cool, but basically it's just gonna fit in here. Let me just kind of pop this in, and it just snaps in there and it just sits in there, so you don't need screws or anything. It just sits in here, and that's it. Once I get this file kind of tweaked the way I want it, and where it works and it's functional, and actually to where you can remove it easy, because this actually doesn't come out very easy once it's snapped in there. So I kind of want to find a way to make it easier to remove it if you need to. I'll load this up on Thingiverse in my mini factory for people to download if they want to use something like this on their ANET, whether it's Anet A8 or A6 or whatnot. So that's the first thing. And then another thing that I was working on is I want to make a Super Pi Boy. Actually, there's a file I found on Thingiverse. I found this like a year ago, almost a year ago, and I wanted to install and set up RetroPie on it so I can play Super Nintendo games, and so on and so forth. So I printed the case. Now I'll show you the original case that I printed. Printed this probably back, and I want to say it was about actually, when did I get my glass bed? I think it was about June. And so this is the case, and I printed it on glass, so if you can kind of see, it's a bit reflective because it's nice and shiny, nice and flat. And as you can see, the layer lines are pretty smooth. Let's see if you can kind of get a good look at that. The layer lines are pretty smooth, although the inside is not great. You kind of see a little bit of under extrusion in quite a few places. This was on my original Anet A8 when I was first learning how to print stuff. So, but the outer part came out just fine. but I wanted to reprint this because I wanted to see on the new bed I have, the Anycubic Ultra Base. So I want to see how that would come out. So I did reprint this, and I'll start by saying the inner layer, or the inner part of this case, came out great. There's no under extrusion or anything. The front of it is not quite as smooth because the Ultra Base has got kind of this, it's a glass bed, but it's, you know, it's got little ridges inside that helps the plastic stay adhere to it when it's printing while it's hot. So it's kind of, it's not perfectly smooth, but it's still pretty decent. But I did notice some under, not so much under extrusion, but the layer adhesion wasn't great. So it's kind of coming apart in the very front there. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's see, just kind of right there. I don't know if you guys can kind of see that, but it's not perfectly smooth on there. And also, this kind of brings up one of the things I wanted to talk about in this video after printing this a couple days ago. Your filaments exposure to the elements. One of the things is this black PLA. This is actually printed in Hatchbox black PLA. And I had this roll out for months, months on end, and I never put it back in a box. I never, you know, I never covered it or anything. I just left it on the roll and left it out. This one I do remember was one of the first times I actually got black PLA. When I was I ordered on Amazon the Hatchbox black PLA, and this came out really freaking smooth, like perfectly smooth. I mean, outside that little part at the top, like you can see that little reflection there. That's really nice, really smooth, really great layer lines. I'm actually going to use this cover, you know, in comparison between the two. And when you look at this one here, let me kind of flip this around. Not, oh man, I'm getting bad at these angles. Yeah, not so much. It's not bad. It isn't bad, but it's just not. It's not perfect. But I know that this is more of the fact that this is exposed to the elements. So, my suggestion for everybody: if you're not using your filaments, make sure that they're covered and you know, sealed up, or at least in a box or something that can absorb whatever moisture's in the air, because I know that's kind of what happened there with that one. So I might take another crack at printing this, just so I can see if, you know, I can fix this bottom part here, because it's not perfect, and it really bothers me. Even though this took quite a bit of time. I believe this took about 5 hours to print at 60 millimeters a second, and so just really kind of upset me, just like on how that came out. But the original still came out really great. I've had this for a long time. Actually restarting this project, and I'm hopefully going to finish this after I replace the Raspberry Pi that I have on there. This is actually designed to work with the Raspberry Pi 3, and that's one of the reasons why I got the 0W, because I'm going to use that to manage Octoprint, and then I'm going to take that Raspberry Pi and use it for this. Now I just have to buy the screen and a bunch of small parts and get this all set up, and hopefully I have a Retro Pi. I can play Nintendo, Super Nintendo games, or whatever, whenever I feel like. And then I still have the back piece, which I printed on, and this is also, I printed this way back when, and I printed this on just painter's tape, and this came out just fine. I didn't do any supports on this. The inside of this also back then came out okay. I don't know, it's weird how this came out okay and then this one didn't. But I printed this also without supports, and this came out okay. Also in Hatchbox PLA. So that's that one. And then here's the last thing I wanted to show you guys, or actually two things I want to show you guys. Or sorry, 3 things I want to show you guys. Before, when I first got the printer, I printed out a few files. This is one of the files on the Anet, and this actually came out pretty good. Cannot argue with this. I think I talked about this in my first video blog, but this came out really good. Felt like I had the printer dialed in pretty well, but obviously you want to make sure that there's upgrades on there that kind of can improve it. So I ended up printing out some of those, but this is before any upgrades whatsoever. And as you can kind of see, It's a little wavy on there. I don't know if it'll focus in. There you go. There you go. So you can kind of see those little waves there. Top layer came out great. Bottom layer came out awesome too. Perfect. This was printed on painter's tape. And then I have this guy here, this Benchy. My first one ever. First one ever. After a year of printing, I finally printed one, even though everybody prints these all the damn time. But this came out really good as well. This also printed on painter's tape too. And you kind of see the bottom there. But not bad. Came out pretty good. I'm actually really happy there was no stringing or anything. Exactly how this is exactly how it came off the printer. I didn't do anything to it. But I reprinted those files after I put in a bunch of those mods. If you look back at my previous video blogs, after all those mods, I printed out these two files again, and I just kind of want to see the quality. Although, unfortunately, I didn't have any black PLA at the time, so these were printed out in the same red that I used for the modification. So hopefully you guys can see the difference. But to be honest, there really isn't too much. I had the printer dialed in pretty well. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I had it dialed in pretty well. So the mods I added a little bit more of quality to it, but not a lot, because it seemed like I got it right the first time. I just wanted to put some in there that I thought were better. And so here is the Chinese checker. It still has those little waves in there. I don't know if it'll focus. It still has those waves in there, but they're not. It's not as bad in comparison. It's a little bit less. And then we have a good bottom layer. I printed this on glass, and that's just like the smoothest bottom layer. Yeah, I mean it's totally reflective and everything. And then the top layer came out great too. So that's that one. And then I printed another Benchy. And again, I didn't mess with this. This is exactly how it came off there. I printed this on glass too, although I had the nozzle too close to the bed, so it's that part wasn't great. But overall, this actually came out really well. I'm really happy with how this came out. Not much difference between the two. I mean, in comparison between the two of them, there really isn't much of a difference. I mean, they both came out great. I can't argue with it. A little bit of improvement on this one, but not a lot, which leads me to if you get the same printer I have, the Anet A8, take your time when assembling it. If you've never done it before, just take your time with it. Watch the videos, read the directions. Although the printed directions on the SD card are not great, watch the videos. Those will detail everything much better, because you can get it dialed in really well if you take your time and you do everything correctly, because you can get really great prints. And the last thing, and this is the last thing, but the last thing here is that a friend of mine asked me to print a thing he saw on YouTube. This is actually designed by Angus Maker's Muse. If you guys don't know who he is, I'm not sure why you're even watching my video. You should be watching his videos. But he designed a Geneva Mechanism. Now, there's different ones you can find out there, but he designed one, and I found somebody had kind of modified that file and loaded it up on Thingiverse, and I printed it out for my friend Chris. And I'm actually going to give this to him when I see him. He just had a baby. Congratulations. Him and Carol Ann. Congratulations, you guys. But this basically... I didn't look up the meaning behind this thing. I know it has to do with timing and everything, but printed this out and it came out really well, and basically came out in multiple pieces. So you have the handle, you have the gear in here, you have this top gear here, and then these two parts of the frame basically, and then it just pops together. There's no screws needed, although there is a space if you guys want to put like a bolt in there to kind of hold this down, but it's unnecessary. This is designed so that all of them work together. So you guys don't actually need to have that. So basically what you have here is this piece is in here, and then it just turns. I don't know if you guys can kind of see that I'm moving it. Yeah. So basically this just turns, and it just deals with timing, as near as I can tell. I know Angus kind of explained this better, and I'll put a link to all the files I've printed except for the Raspberry Pi Zero case. Once I get that, configured correctly, I'll upload that and then I'll link to it. But I'll link to this one I downloaded and printed out. But yeah, this is pretty cool. After dealing with like smoothing out, because I had to print the inner gear with supports. After doing that, I was finally able to get this thing to just turn smooth. So I don't know if you guys actually, let me hold it this way so you guys kind of see it. So let me hold it here. This is better. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so basically it just turns just like that, and that's it. And I know there's more meaning behind this, obviously. If you look up Geneva Mechanism, there's going to be tons of stuff about this, but I just want to show you guys some of the stuff I was working on, just the different things. And I'll be doing more video blogs on this, and I'll probably be doing a little bit more formal stuff as well, talking about the printer and some other printers that I'm getting. I have a couple printers on the way, Anet A8, and also one I backed on Kickstarter, which I'll probably do like a video before I get it, just kind of talking about its features and what I'm hoping from it, and then I'll do another video once I get it, after I've tried it. But that one's going to be the Kodama, the Obsidian. If any of you have seen that or heard of that, that was a Kickstarter that happened, I believe, back in August or September. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that printer. Nice compact printer. It was a really great price, and guys who have a good track record. So that's actually one of the things. It's not a startup that has just starting off. They have a track record. They had a previous printer with the Trinus that went out pretty well, and so I'm looking forward to that. So that's just some of the stuff I'm working on, guys. I got more on the way. There's tons of stuff I'm trying to print and whatnot. You generally have this printer running all the time, but I have more stuff on the way. So if you like the video, guys, hit the like. If you didn't, hit the dislike. Leave a comment below, and if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I appreciate it. It helps out. And thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Talk to you later.